Hi guys, my name is Natalia and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be doing a September wrap-up. So I read 6 books in September and yeah, let's just get into it. So the first book that I read was As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. So this is the 3rd book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, and I gave it 3.5 stars, so I didn't enjoy it. Definitely not as much as the other 2 books, because I do like this series in general, but this book was my least favorite. So in this book, again, we follow Pip, but this time she's not technically solving any case, but she is kind of in danger when she realizes that a serial killer might be out trying to get her and stalking her. But when she tries to report it to the police, they don't really believe her because she doesn't have any strong evidence. So she's kind of left alone to deal with it. She's also dealing with PTSD from what happened in the previous book. So that's basically what is happening in this book. So my thoughts. Definitely, I have to say that, as always, Holly Jackson's writing was brilliant. She even managed to connect events from the first book to the events from this book. And I felt genuine fear during some of the scenes. I'm honestly amazed at her writing. And so the case that was presented in this book, the DT killer case, I literally felt as if it was a real case. Obviously it's fictional, but it just, her writing and everything, it just made me feel like it's a real case that actually happened. So that was really interesting. Now, what I didn't like about this book, first of all, like the big reveal happened quite early in the book, and the rest was a bit predictable and it was dragging a bit. And there were so many times when I wanted to knock some sense into Pip, and I just didn't understand some of the things that she was doing in this book. And like I said, yes, she's suffering from PTSD, but I just feel like that cannot justify everything that she does. And so yeah, this book definitely changed the way I see the entire series. I'm just not sure how I feel about it. Like, the writing was good, but the ending, the way it ended, I'm not a big fan, to be honest, but that's just my personal opinion. Okay, the second book that I read was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. So this one I gave 4.5 stars. This one I enjoyed a lot. So in this book, we follow a woman named Maggie, and her father has recently passed away, and she inherited the house that they lived in for some time in the past. She actually didn't even know that he still owns that house, but he did, and he left it for her. And the house is also the subject of his book. So that book literally changed their lives. Her father wrote this book, this non-fiction book, about a time when they lived in that house and different things were happening. Well, basically he claimed that the house was haunted. But the problem is Maggie doesn't remember that because she was a very little girl when all of that happened. So she actually thinks that her father made it all up. But yeah, she decides to actually go and visit the house and try to find out the truth about what actually happened. Was this house really haunted? Was there what happened? Why did they flee this house? And all of that. So she goes to that house and she tries to find out what happened. And it was really interesting and full of twists and turns, to be honest. Just when I thought that I already have all the answers, I was hit with yet another plot twist. I was honestly so impressed with how good this book was, and it just made me want to read more Riley Sager's books because this one was amazing. The next book that I read was The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. So this one I gave 3.5 stars. Definitely have to say that I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. It wasn't like anything spectacular. It wasn't a literal masterpiece, but it was very enjoyable. It was a quick and enjoyable read, and it was an amazing palate cleanser between all the fantasy and thrillers that I read. So basically, this book is about Belly. Her real name is Isabel, but everyone calls her Belly, so let's just call her Belly, even though it's ridiculous. So Belly, her mother has a friend who owns a beach house, and she also has 2 sons. And so every year, every summer, they go to that beach house and just spend time there together. Basically, Belly's life is all about waiting for summer to come and just go there and have fun with handsome boys. So yeah, because she is kind of like involved she has a crush on one of the mother's friend's sons, and then the other one is like a close friend to her that is also like a potential love interest, so I guess it's like a love triangle. Personally, I liked Belly, and I saw so many people don't like her, but I was just thinking she's just like a very normal teenager, and I don't know, I just thought like she reminded me of me when I was a teenager, except I was not like spending time at a beach house with handsome boys. But I think like personality wise, I don't know, I just liked her, and I didn't even like any of the love interests that much. Like Conrad, he's definitely charming, but he was kind of an asshole throughout the whole book. And then Jeremiah is like, he just feels like a friend to her, in my opinion. Like he just has this like brother kind of vibe about him. I don't know. I will have to read the other 2 books to decide which team I'm on. Do I prefer Conrad or Jeremiah? Probably Conrad, knowing me. But I guess at this point I'm just team Belly. And yeah, like I said, I enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought. It was just cute and it was just fun read. So the next book that I read was Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is the last book in the Caraval trilogy. I gave it 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it a lot. Basically, in the first book, we saw everything from Scarlett's perspective. Then in the second book, it was from Tella, Scarlett's sister's perspective. And in this book, we get both sisters' perspectives. So we finally get back to Scarlett and Julian, which I was so happy about because they are like one of my favorite couples, like book couples. Julian is one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite book boyfriends. I love him so much. He's so precious. Please, someone protect him. He deserves all the best things in the world. So I personally didn't care that much about Tella and Dante's relationship. I still think they were I liked them more than when I was reading Legendary. They were cuter in this book, but still I just didn't like them as much as I like Scarlett and Julian. But that's just like my personal opinion. But overall, I feel like the plot was a bit weak compared to the other 2 books. Like in the other 2 books, we had the Caraval. In this book, there was no Caraval actually. They were trying to stop the Fates, which are these powerful creatures that were trapped in a deck of cards, but now were freed. So they were trying to stop them from ruling the world. I feel like just lots of things were happening without big consequences. Like the plot was all over the place. So that was the thing that maybe I didn't enjoy that much. But I love this series so much. So I think that's the reason why I gave it 4.5 stars. I just feel so much sentiment towards this series, and I already miss this world so much. Okay, the next book that I read was The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and that one I also gave 4.5 stars. It is a thriller, and basically there's a wedding that takes place on this remote island, and it is written from multiple points of view. So basically, there is a murder that takes place, but for a long time, we find out who actually died kind of near the end of the book. But I think you can kind of easily predict who dies, so it doesn't really matter. And we get a perspective from, I believe, 6 different characters, and all of them kind of have a motive to kill that person. So we don't really know which one of them actually does it. That's the whole mystery. We need to find out who actually did it, and I have to say I personally was not able to put it all together until the very end. So I think it was very well written. I think because it was written from like multiple points of view, we could get to know each of the characters as well as their past, their dynamics with one another and all of that. So I think it was a very well written thriller, and the fact that, you know, it takes place on a remote island and the weather is like crazy and all that, I think it all added to the creepy atmosphere. So it was a very chilling and atmospheric read, and I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, and the last book that I read was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave it 4 stars. I actually was not sure what should I rate it. So overall I enjoyed it, but I just feel like maybe the first part of the book was dragging a bit, and then the second part was picked up a pace a little bit. In this book we follow Feyre, who is a huntress. Well, she's kind of forced to be a huntress because her family has lost their wealth and they are now very poor, and she's the only one who kind of provides for their family and hunts animals so that they can basically eat anything and not starve. And one day she ends up killing a wolf, which later turns out that it was actually a fairy, and another terrifying creature comes to demand retribution, and he basically wants her to go and live with him in the fairy world. So in this world, basically there's like a wall that divides the fairy world from the human world. So he wants her to come through the wall and live with him in his estate. So obviously she's terrified, but later it turns out that, you know, he's actually very kind and he would take care of her and all of that. But yet later it turns out that he's actually facing some troubles. There's like a blight that is taking his powers. There's lots of like issues to be dealt with. So like I said, the first part of the book was a little bit slow. I feel like the ending, I don't know, I think I expected some bigger plot twists. I expected to be like very shocked, and I wasn't. And I'm not sure if it's like maybe my expectations were too high because of the hype that this series is receiving. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not saying it was badly written, but I just feel like the plot itself wasn't as, I don't know, as gripping as I thought it would be. I think the characters were what actually carried the entire story. I definitely like Feyre. She was so fierce and she was just willing to do anything to protect the ones she loves. I love Lucien. I just love, you know, he has this sarcastic personality to him, but deep down he's a very good person and a good and loyal friend. I just love Lucien so much. I didn't care much about Tamlin. I didn't hate him, but I didn't love him either. He was just okay, but I could feel Feyre's love for him, which was really powerful. About Raisin, is that how you pronounce his name? Anyway, he is definitely charming, but I think he just needs some more time to actually fall for him. Right now I'm just like, okay, he's charming. But yeah, I definitely did enjoy all the scenes with him. Like I said, I feel like the characters were way more interesting than the story itself, but a lot of people said the second book is way better than this one, so I'm very excited to continue reading this series. So these were all the books that I read in September. If I were to pick my favorite one, it would probably either be Finale or Home Before Dark. Actually, I didn't give 5 stars to any book this month, which I don't want to say it's sad, but usually I have at least one book that I give 5 stars to, so maybe this month wasn't that great, but still there were many books that I enjoyed. So okay guys, so that's it for this video. Let me know your favorite read of September, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!